when my mom got cancer, and I felt like I needed to do something to help her. But well, she's fine now. But yeah, in that journey to figure out like what my beliefs were, I think I did a ton of shadow work, journaling every day. Dancing has been one of the best modalities to help me be with the negative thoughts, the beliefs, because when I'm allowing myself to be with it and actually shift patterns of being, it helps me practice, gives me a map on how to be with myself. And the somatic types of therapies I knew was a key to my healing, because I knew that I was very dysregulated. I knew that my nervous system, I would always had chronic anxiety. I had panic attacks, and so much overwhelm. And I felt like there was part of me that felt like I couldn't handle anything.
Hey, this is Susan Blanton, and I want to quickly jump in with a reminder that the Create Happy Meditations app is almost here. In this app, we are unveiling my Moment Makers Happy Method, where you can learn how to create a life of happiness, abundance, peace, purpose, and say yes to life. And it starts with calming your mind and creating the best meditation for your own personal needs. I know you have been waiting a long time, but it's been a big project for me. And like with big projects, you may have some healing and learning to do along the way, and I sure did. So pardon the delays. If you want to get on the waiting list, go to www.createhappynow.com and go to the app tab and click on the sign up button there. It's super informative. Learn how to create your own meditation that works for you. And there's more inside with options to learn even more about how to discover who you really are and how to navigate the law of attraction and manifest your happy life. Welcome to the Create Happy Now podcast, dedicated to helping you start your journey to discover true happiness. Join me, your host, Susan Blanton, weekly as we explore the transformation stories and words of wisdom from our masters of happiness with tips you can start applying today to create happy now. Hey, this is Susan Blanton with the Create Happy Now podcast, and today Marisa Skolky is my next guest with Beyond Limits Expressive Arts Therapy, LLC. She is dedicated to helping sensitive people connect with their intuition, heal their root traumas, and embody their wisdom. She has been helping individuals tap into their creative potential as a path to healing and self-discovery and explore their emotions, challenges, and aspirations through the transformative power of art. Boy, I love her. Marisa is known for her multidimensional approach to healing and personal growth, which includes, but is not limited to, expressive arts like dance and music making, drawing, dialogue, and she also does Reiki and IFS and hypnotherapy and sacred plant medicine ceremonies. Her powerful coaching work includes private, tailored client immersions with individuals and couples, as well as group retreats to help people achieve transformation on specific issues such as eating disorders, somatic trauma resolution, and self-empowerment. She also facilitates ecstatic and expressive dance classes, music jams, women's circles, and a conscious book club. So glad to have you, Marisa. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I am really excited for the listeners to hear about your story, because I think a lot of people can relate to your journey. And then we have some juicy stuff to talk about later. So why don't you go ahead and get started and let people know all about your story.
Thanks, Susan. I so appreciate being here on this podcast with everyone. And yeah, I have had quite a story. I've struggled with a complex PTSD, an eating disorder for 16 years, a shoplifting addiction for 16 years, and just like the emotional ups and downs of being a highly sensitive person, intuitive with psychic gifts that I didn't quite really know how to use back then. And so on my path to healing, I tried so many different types of varieties of different types of therapies, from, emotional freedom technique to hypnotherapy to Reiki to, all sorts of different things. But it was the perfect combination of plant medicine work, psychedelics. It was expressive arts therapy, which is dance, writing, and drawing. It was a combination of somatic nervous system rewiring exercises and energy work. That was the perfect combination to help set me free and help me come back home to myself and feel my emotions. So it's been quite a journey. I spent almost over a decade being a burnt out commercial property insurance broker, and I was really successful and enjoyed it to a point until I got very sick, and then I took a sabbatical and healed my life and switched careers and started really being fully in alignment with what I'm actually here to do, which is doing integrative healing arts.
It's funny. It's how like life puts you on this journey to go down the rabbit hole of learning how to heal and finding the different ways to heal. And then you kind of find your own truth, and especially if you do try, because if you do try and keep trying and keep, especially with an open mind, to find the things that resonate with you, that feel right, and you search for your own truth and you find healing in your own truth and learning who you are and then loving who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And so does that
yeah, for
like
sure.
what you did is like
what I love hearing you say is like you're really speaking about the feeling, the sense, the felt sense, which leads to the felt shift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think a lot of traditional talk therapy doesn't get to, is this embodied feeling of actually becoming a different version of yourself. And that's going to be really, really powerful, because once you experience it and you know it is truth, now things can shift for you.
I think that what helped me was I wasn't looking at what had gone wrong. I had looked at, where do I want to go, instead of like, finding blame. Well, my parents did this, or they didn't do that, or my teachers did this, or they didn't do that. It is what it is. It's time to like, okay, how do I get to where I want to go, and what feels good, and not come from a place of lack, but wouldn't it be so cool if I felt this way? This is how I want to feel, and and then kind of act like I'm getting there, be patient with yourself. I mean, I still have days now that I just want to lay in bed and stay in my pajamas and not talk to anybody.
Yeah. And that's okay to feel that way.
It's
totally
like,
okay.
It's okay. It's just a day. And it doesn't mean that the rest of my life's going to look like that. It may kind of feel like that, but I have to remind myself, I'm just having one of those days. It's probably just my hormones or the weather, or especially when you can't put your thumb on like why you feel the way you do.
Right. But it just feels like a disconnect. You just,
right.
Yeah. And so, the process of coming back home to ourselves and our bodies is a lifelong journey. And we're always going to have those parts of us that are, might feel a little scared or anxious, or maybe feel betrayed or whatnot. And it's really about getting in relationship with all the parts of ourselves so that we can feel more integrated. And that's what I feel like is so empowering about the work that I'm now dedicating my whole life to doing, is understanding how to rewrite our stories, and not only rewrite them in our mind, but rewrite them in the cells of our being. And a lot of the times, like, we're inheriting these beliefs and patterns, and not necessarily caused by trauma, but things that we inherit. And so working on the psycho-spiritual like level of an esoteric level of trauma and ancestral burdens and all that stuff, it can, you can go down the rabbit hole. So it's really important to be patient, like you were saying, with yourself, because you could get to know your parts for the rest of your life.
They and I've experienced this, but you know, there's a lot of um uh philosophies and beliefs in how to just kind of shift to a new way of being, you know, almost to the point where you're shifting your life to the point where like your past is just you can rewrite it to where like you don't remember the traumas, embodied traumas, you know, just it's more of like I watched a movie and that's what it was, you know,
Yeah. Well,
instead of feeling it.
yeah, you definitely can rewire your unconscious responses to life 100%.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have rewired my nervous system from PTSD, from trauma, from a divorce, from childhood. And so I really know what's possible because I used to be in a really hopeless, I mean, I was always a really outgoing, creative person, but I was fighting myself and not believing in myself for so long, and numbing myself and out and distracting myself from who I actually was, and making myself smaller so that other people could tolerate me. And no, when I really started coming back home to who I actually am, and the self, and this creative, silly, quirky, weird, expressive, beyond limits expressive arts therapy, that's who I am.
Yes.
I'm an expressive, weird, silly, inspiring, activating, motivating energy.
Embracing the weirdness.
Embracing, like, yeah, because play is part of self energy, that sense of
Well,
curiosity,
it's our child nature that we were fine in as a child, you know, because we just wanted to do what we wanted to do when we wanted to do it, you know, and have fun, play,
Yeah,
explore, observe, learn. Um, and we got rid of that. But we were, that was snuffed out of us. Um, because we're kind of conditioned to be part of the herd, you know, part
sure. It's
of
like
this
this
negative
programming. Yeah,
energy herd that complies and conforms to a certain standard when we don't really know why, to be honest. Um, but now I believe there's a lot of people out there awakening to this, get back to this child's point of view
yeah,
of loving and exploring and loving yourself,
right.
being silly, playing, being creative, draw without worrying about if you're an artist, dance like you don't have to be a dancer to dance. You don't have to be a
Right.
professional dancer to dance. You don't have to be a professional artist or be good at art to express yourself in art. You don't have to be a professional singer to sing in the shower, right?
Right.
Um,
Right. You just have to give yourself permission and own it.
yes,
Own it. Own your truth.
yes.
Um, and that takes courage and practice and vulnerability, and I think we have to do it in, like, titration, like pacing ourselves with even joy, because there's only so much also our nervous systems can tolerate for change, whether it's positive change or negative change. And so that's also something that I have a keen awareness of, is like, where is my nervous system also in relation to my clients, and where is their nervous system, and how much, like, for example, there's a really amazing book called Conscious Loving by Gay Hendricks, and
Uh-huh.
it talks about the concept of the upper limit, that once you reach like this point where you can no longer process or tolerate or digest even like the vibration, like the positivity, you start naturally swinging and start to swing in the opposite direction. You might stub your toe, or you might pick a fight, or whatever it might be, unconsciously.
Hmm.
And so if you can be more attuned to where you're at, and when you start to get a little irritable, like you're at a party and you're like, oh, it's time to go. There's like, you can no longer integrate it. So instead of swinging in the opposite direction, they tell you to notice when you're reaching your upper limit and rest. Notice when you reach your upper limit and rest, so that you can slowly start to increase your tolerance for that vibration.
You
So
know,
as we head into 5D, it's important to have that in mind.
I experienced that. I wish I'd known that um in early 2021, because even though COVID was fully rampant at the end of 2020, I was having the time of my life, other than having to deal with, wearing a mask and going out in public and being afraid of all that stuff. But I kind of dissipated that fear. I mean, that just kind of was, it is what it is, and we'll see where it leads us. But everything else was going great. I was having time of my life. I was meeting all sorts of amazing people because I just started my podcast that past July, but the vibration was just rising and rising and rising. I mean, I guess, kind of like Abraham Hicks, so you have all of your spinning plates and everything's going
in the
great,
vortex. Yeah.
Mine were going just doo-doo-doo, and then all of a sudden crash. And I didn't know what happened. I didn't do anything. Why all of a sudden I just want to go to sleep and sleep on the couch and not talk to anybody, do anything, nothing. But yeah, that totally makes sense now. I wish somebody had told me about that. But
yeah, fear of joy is a real thing.
Well, somebody had also told me, I believe it was Jeffrey Hoppy, who channels Adamus Saint Germain. He said, you have to be aware of the dragon. I'm like, what do you mean by the dragon? And I think that, when you're on your awakening journey, you're just flying high, everything's great. And all of a sudden, bam, like happened to me. I guess that was like facing the dragon. You go through a very low spell. But I don't regret having gone through what I went through, because it was a total growth transformation for me too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I think is a huge takeaway from my entire journey, was to embrace all the down times, and instead of getting upset that these things happen to me, go, oh, that's why I went through that. Or that's why I went through that.
So you're finding like meaning, you're finding meaning from it. So it's giving you value. Like, yeah.
Right. So when another one comes, like, I'm like, okay, I can observe it instead of going, oh my gosh, what do I do? Just go, oh, this is a new lesson, a new challenge that I need to go through. It's another part of me that needs to grow in this area. And, just kind of see how it plays out. And, like what you were saying, when you were talking earlier about, this is before we were recording, but, following your intuition, that really saved me a lot too. Especially if you become like a little bit more in tune.
Oh, yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about how you discovered specifically what worked for you, and how because I really like to tap into belief systems, because a lot of times if we listen to our old belief systems too much, then we miss some of these ways to heal ourselves. So did you have to change some of your beliefs, or discard some of your old beliefs, or adopt new beliefs, or just kind of like open them up so that you could explore new ways to heal yourself and find out how to rewire yourself?
Yeah, of course. I think that, I follow like human design and all those things. And based on my human design, I like to like trial and error it. I like to try it out, feel it out, see how it feels. And it's either like a hell yes or it's a no, because I'm like clairsentient and I can feel things super, super strongly, which is why I had numbed myself out for so many years. But now that I am fully feeling, I can really feel into what's right for me. But going along that journey, what really helped me was hypnotherapy, which I became a certified hypnotherapist in 2015, and Reiki, which I became a Reiki master in 2015 also, when my mom got cancer and I felt like I needed to do something to help her. But well, she's fine now, but But yeah, in that journey to figure out like what my beliefs were, I think I did a ton of shadow work, journaling every day. Dancing has been one of the best modalities to help me be with the negative thoughts, the beliefs, because when I'm allowing myself to be with it and actually shift patterns of being, it helps me practice, gives me a map on how to be with myself. And the somatic types of therapies I knew was a key to my healing, because I knew that I was very dysregulated. I knew that my nervous system, I would always had chronic anxiety. I had panic attacks, and so much overwhelm. And I felt like there was part of me that felt like I couldn't handle anything.
Yeah.
And when I dance and when I do these modalities that involve my body, this felt sense, this experiential psychodrama, like getting into like the theater of my life, realizing that I'm the actor and the director, and what's going to be the perfect recipe for me. Well, it's definitely going to be something that I can feel, so talk therapy didn't get me very far. I tried that, and like I said, I spent so many years like figuring out like higher brain living, like all sorts of different things that I tried in order to heal, in order to get to a space that I am now. But ultimately, the plant medicine work, the psychedelic work that I do is profound in helping create neuroplasticity, which helps you change your beliefs and your patterns. What it also does is it helps you create space. Yeah. The reason why I was able to heal was because I gave myself the space to have the healing. If you're constantly in do, and that's a trauma response, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And if you're constantly in that, you're not making space for the healing to be received. So a big part of my healing journey was learning how to slow down, if you know what I mean. Slow down.
Right.
Because there's this speedy part of me that's chasing approval or chasing, am I enough? And once I take those beliefs, and with the plant medicine work and the embodiment practices and the journaling and the Reiki and the anchoring in of my patterns. So like, what does anxiety feel like in my body? Okay, let me feel that. Let me get into it. Maybe it's crunched up. Maybe it's stopped breathing. Maybe I crunch in my stomach. And now I practice what peacefulness feels like. Okay, maybe it's this. And so calling upon my body to help me anchor in new beliefs and patterns is a form of hypnotherapy. And I use internal family systems work, which is parts work, in combination with the hypnotherapy, in combination with the dancing and the plant medicine, to help you get an embodied knowing of how to actually physically move, mentally, physically, and spiritually move out of those negative patterns. And it's been 100% life-changing. I'm a completely different person than I was even just a year ago.
Well, I think that, like what you mentioned, the neuroplasticity, which is a lot of what I'm working with too, where you need to learn how to manage your attention, your focus. So if you're focusing on worry, you need to learn how to unfocus that to something else and channel your focus to something more positive.
Right.
And so, and people have to find different ways of meditation, which, the microdosing kind of helped accelerate your ability to be in the present moment, or
to be more present, to be more in self energy, so that I could have space between myself and the part of me that was sort of taking over my system. And so you have to ask yourself, how much space in your system is your anxiety or is your fear taking up?
Right, because I think we're both a lot of like the interoceptive, your focus is on from the skin in. So you've got, a lot of stuff going in your brain, it's going a mile an hour. You're so like off in thought that someone's talking to you and you don't even hear them, because you're just so focused in your own world, internal world. So, it's being able to focus outside. And I think, with the dancing, the art, all of that external type focus that allows that love and positive energy without judgment, and it gets you out of your system, out of your nerves and your emotional body.
Right. It's like, show me with your body, don't tell me with your mind.
Yeah.
It's coming back to the inner healing intelligence of this amazing system that we have. And in this day and age, like, a lot of people are so disconnected from their bodies. My journey of coming back home to my body is like my life's mission. This is my life's purpose, because I know what it's like to feel so disconnected. And I also know what it's like to feel really connected and be like so inspired, so imaginative, so creative, so empowered. And I'm like,
It's just
you
like to
know?
hit that balance, so you're not
Yeah.
too on the outside and not focusing, not being able to focus on your body, or too body focused on your pain and your emotions, that you can't focus on anything that you need to do in
Right. You want the balance.
perspective,
Correct.
so it's that searching for that those positive things on the inside and outside, and be able to oscillate between the two. And I
Yeah.
think also learning how to manage your emotional intelligence,
Yes.
being able to understand how your body responds to your different vibrations of emotional, like if,
Right. Right.
so you've got to know what the hierarchy of the vibrations. You've got anger and despair. Actually, anger is a higher
Higher than grief and
like
sadness.
despair and
Yeah. Yeah.
hopelessness. Um, anger at least kind of gives you, I'm gonna do something,
Action.
dang it,
Yeah. You can take action.
yeah, at
It's
least
protective.
express,
Yeah.
like, I'm mad at you because you said this, I mean, if you channel it in the right way, that's even better. But I mean, at least you're expressing it,
Right.
and which is, I think, the most important thing to do, is be able to authentically express yourself in the most positive way that's most benevolent for yourself and everybody.
Yeah, for the highest and best involved, but also to honor like the darkness as well, and to give it space, and to be able to witness it with loving attention. So I take my clients through a lot of emotional release sessions to help them, like, even just shaking, to help them release some of the trauma
Right. In
that's
a
stored in
safe
their body,
place. Yeah.
in a
In a
safe
in a
set and
place.
setting, which is really important.
Yeah.
But I have a really great example of how to change, like, to notice your beliefs and patterns. Like, for example, like scarcity mentality, if like you are stuck in that, which I know like a lot of people are, how would you respond? How does your body respond when someone offers you $100? Do you like shirk? Do you start looking away? Does your shoulders start growing back, or do you like lean forward and you're like, yes? So even just noticing how like the body could affect the brain just as the brain can affect the body, like practicing also different postures and ways of being. Like, are you slumped over all the time, or are you like open and receptive? Is your heart out? So it's like creating that awareness, which again, the microdosing, the plant medicine work helps us have more of that more easily. We can start to step into that awareness and notice how our bodies are responding. Our unconscious responses to life is right here. And so if we can notice how we're responding to these situations, we can start to reprogram. Be like, okay, like, I'm noticing that I'm looking away, this person's offering me something, like, how can I lean into this?
Right.
What would it feel like to open up my hands and say yes, thank you? Like, what happens in your body when you say that, right? It's like,
Right.
it's such a different way of going about it.
I don't know if you have ever heard of Bashar.
Yes.
Channeled by Daryl Anka. He
Yeah.
says something like, test yourself. What has to be true to you for you to see that belief carried through? So, for instance, see if I can express it. I can understand it, but sometimes when I explain it, it's a little difficult. But if you could say, okay, let's say you got $100, what is coming up for you at that moment? What is your truth? What would have to be true for you to not react that way? Right?
Right.
So you have to kind of consciously go, how am I feeling right now? But what would have to be true for me to not? What would have to be different? And then it could be as simple as, well, maybe who you were getting $100 from, right?
Right.
It could be that, or why you got the $100, you know?
Right. Right.
Um,
Right.
so it could be the situation, could be the person. But if it has nothing to do with anything negative, and it's just someone being very generous to you, what would have to be true to you to let you accept it with, oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. Instead, oh no, I can't take that.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because you have to understand, and I think this is something that people also don't understand, is when someone's giving you something, that person is finding joy in giving that to you. And so, like for instance, I recently delivered one of my paintings to somebody, and they gave me extra cash, and I was, oh my gosh, well, thank you so much. And said, oh no, here, take this back. No, I can't take any more. Because
Right.
it was they wanted to give it to me. I didn't ask for it. They wanted to give it to me. And
Right.
that was their joy in doing that. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And it's also a form of abundance. So, what I wanted to kind of segue into is, when you're feeling this in your body and knowing how you're feeling, if you're opening up and accepting something like that, then it's going to open up. Oh, the universe is going to go, oh, you want more of that? We'll get right on that, So if you're recognizing abundance and accepting it, like, wow, that's great. I didn't even plan that,
Right.
it will flow in. Trust me, it will flow in. When
Yeah,
something
because you're
happens,
putting
you're
your
go, that's
focus and
really
your
cool that
gratitude
that
there.
happened.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be money. It can be an opportunity. It could be a gift. It could be, oh gosh, I got the front, the first parking spot.
I love
Right.
when that happens. Yeah.
And then you constantly get the front parking spot, right?
Right. Right.
For me, it's people always let me in traffic. I never have any traffic issues. Nobody ever cuts me off. People let me in, when I need to get in, people just get out of the way.
Right. And that's like a belief that now that's like that you've practiced many, many times. And so it's all about like practicing and doing the practices that can support like your self-discipline. Like Gabrielle Roth says, do you have the discipline to be a free spirit?
Yeah.
And I think there is a discipline when it comes to like your practices of what helps you come back home to yourself. Is it journaling? Is it dancing? Is it walking? Is it like, what is it that helps you remember who you truly are?
Exactly. And then, when you do recognize a little blip of maybe your authentic self, go, oh, I see you. I see you. There you are. And you know what? And then there's a little ping of love that will automatically happen.
Mm-hmm.
And the more pings you get, and the more you want to, nurture and be compassionate to that authentic part of you that finally showed up, then it grows and it grows. But you have to keep stopping and recognizing, oh yes, there you are, I see you, and love them and love them. And then you just, after a while, you'll only recognize the times that you didn't step up, you didn't do something that was really your authentic self, and you'll go, oh shoot, I just realized I just kind of fell back into that old habit. So you really have to be in observation mode for everything, and in observation mode without the attachment.
Right. Without feeling so enmeshed with like,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So like, yeah, in IFS, we call that self energy. And it helps you really kind of be that loving awareness, loving witness, and be open, not be resistant to anything. Radical acceptance is something that really helped me on my journey, is like really learning to surrender, not give up, but like surrender to trusting life, to trusting that there's a bigger picture, that is beyond my ego. And
Right.
The more spiritual work I do, the more I realize, like that it's okay to be to not to be. I'm more okay with being in the unknown now than I ever have been in my whole life, and I'm so grateful for that, because that level of being able to trust life and getting excited about the unknown versus fearful. It's like trusting in love versus fear. Like, where in your life are you trusting in fear versus love?
Well,
And
there's
I
a lot of
be aware
things
of that.
that I think that we don't realize we are doing and trusting, that we need to go back and identify. Because if we go back and identify those things and see how they're working in other areas, like you're trusting that your car's going to work.
Right. We trust that the airplane pilot's going to fly the plane, and
Right.
so we do trust some things, right? It's
Right.
nothing's ever all or nothing.
Right.
So,
We trust that the bank has our money and is keeping track of all of our transactions appropriately.
right.
When you kind of go like, then find other things, find all the places you can find like a trust or an opportunity that happened, that something that went well or went right. Maybe you got a compliment, maybe someone gave you an opportunity, maybe someone gave you a free Starbucks card. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
any little thing that you can recognize as that was a plus.
Yes,
That was a plus
definitely.
to my life. Then the pluses get bigger and come in more and more surprising ways. And
Right.
then, you can start trusting then the unknowns, trust and
Sure. So
allow and
baby
don't
steps,
ask how.
Yes, trust and allow and don't ask how. I like that. Yes. I have a grateful jar that I put in 3 grateful notes every morning, and it's been my practice for the last like 7 years. And at the end of the year, I read everything that happened to me, and I put it on a piece of paper and I laminate it. And it's amazing. Like,
That's
you
an
can find
awesome idea.
so many things.
Yeah. I had a journal. I didn't do something like that, but I definitely think that's a great idea to just go back and pick out the things that actually happened
Mhm.
um from that. But I remember I still have my journal somewhere. But I wrote down all the things that I wanted. And then I came back and go check, 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 you know, debt
Ooh.
free, the relationship, I mean, there was a time where I like my salary amount was a stretch, and then I ended up doubling it. And not trying, it just kind of fell into my lap. Just that's the thing. That's what ends up happening, is things just start to fall into your lap when you let go of how it's going to appear.
Yeah. Yeah. But as humans, we're like, like to be in control because it helps us feel safe. So it makes sense that there's going to be those parts that are controlling, and those are the parts that I love to work with and get to know, and make a song for and dance for, and and whatever it needs to feel like it's really seen and heard and felt, so that I'm not pushing anything away.
Do you
Really.
play any instruments?
I do.
Do
I
you?
play I play guitar, some drums. I have a loop station that I do. I sing. I'm a musician. I used to be playing all over Atlanta for many years, and I stopped doing that, and now I'm getting back into it. But yeah, I write all sorts of medicine music, medicine songs, empowerment songs, songs for your soul to help, slowing myself down so I can feel it, slowing myself down so I can heal it, slowing myself down, yeah, gonna slow myself down. It's like earworms that can get stuck in your head. So you can remind yourself of what it is that you're like working on trying to create. So
Music is so great for helping you remember things,
yes,
what to do.
yeah.
I haven't played in a while, but I've got a guitar right over there. But of course I can't play with these nails. But I also played flute and piccolo for many, many years.
Beautiful.
And I just got a new flute a few years ago, and was able to pick it right back up. Like not a day had gone by. So, but I haven't played recently. I just need to find some music.
Well, you're welcome to come to our music jam, which is every single month. I host a music jam, usually on a Saturday or Sunday from 6 to 10. And everyone and anyone can come. So you're welcome to bring your flute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed learning all about you, Marisa. And can you tell the listeners a little bit more about what you have to offer? What you have going on, where you're located, if they want to come and meet you and work with you directly?
Yeah, definitely. And I do all sorts of integrative healing arts, from hypnotherapy, Reiki. I have all sorts of devices to help with hypnotherapy, like as far as an audio visual entrainment device and things like that. I do forms of dance and nonlinear movement to help my clients break out of their patterns in a physical way. I offer a microdosing program that is full of support and has a special journal and group support and all sorts of stuff. I do full dose one-on-one journeys with clients, individuals, and couples and groups. I'm located in Smyrna, Georgia, and I have a retreat center here, and I host weekly dances, monthly music jams. I do all sorts of expressive arts therapy, internal family systems work, which again is the parts work that I use. Really a combination of all different types of modalities to help my clients create a tailored approach that's unique to them based on what they need. So, whether that's a long-term goal or that's specific goals in a specific way, I really love to empower my clients to find what works for them and to be as resourceful as possible to, if I don't have the solution, that I know definitely where they can find it. And so I have a lot to offer, a lot that comes from my heart. That's very intentional. I love creating safe spaces for authenticity, and for people to be able to come back home to their bodies, which is what I really enjoy the most.
Yay. Well, can you tell them where they can get in touch with you and what you have to offer them first?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, you're saying like as far as the free 45-minute. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. So you can connect with me on my website under www.marisaskolky.com. That's spelled MARISASKOLKY.com. And I have a free 45-minute discovery call. You can get a coaching call with me. I can guide you through whatever it is that is going on for you and help empower you to the other side. I also offer a free embodied microdosing calendar. So for 30 days, you can be led by this calendar to what kind of movements and practices might support your plant medicine experience. So that's on my website too. Just put in your email and your information and you'll get a link to that as well. And then I also offer bi-weekly group calls that are free for all members in my program. And if it's just by donation for those that are not. So there's many ways to connect with me. I also offer a free book club as well.
Okay, great.
It's all on my website. I have a lot of events.
Lot to look at. So
lots to look at. Yeah.
So can you tell us what your favorite quote is, Marisa?
Yes, I can. It is: energy moves in waves. Waves move in patterns. Patterns move in rhythms. A human being is just that: energy, waves, and patterns, rhythms, nothing more, nothing less, a dance. And that's by Gabrielle Roth.
We're just a collection of atoms, which is what? They vibrate,
Yes. Yes. So it's, dance has definitely inspired me so much in my healing journey. because it helps us connect with creativity and joy and spontaneity. And the antidote for anxiety is spontaneity and creativity. And so I like to, encourage myself to use different creative outlets to express myself. And oftentimes we don't have the words for what we're feeling. And that's why there's expressive arts.
Yes. Like drawing,
painting,
painting,
writing, singing, music,
sculpting,
theater, just different
That's why a
ways
lot
that
of
you can express
actors
yourself.
went into acting, because then they can express themselves in other ways, be other things, express themselves in different ways,
Right. Yeah. Of course.
So
There's a
what is,
freedom and liberation to that.
yes. So what is your happy hack?
My happy hack is probably singing. I sing my way through fear. I sing my way through everything I need to sing. I sing, I dance, I sing and dance at the airports. I sing and dance in the grocery aisles. I went to Home Depot yesterday to buy myself a money tree, and I danced throughout that whole store, and I had a conga line. People started joining.
See, the thing is, people are afraid to be silly, but what you did was you attracted other people who you finally let them release and be silly too, because you just gave them that permission slip to join you.
Yeah. That's what I love, is giving people permission to be their authentic selves. No matter how silly or weird I have to look, I don't really care, because, that's something that I really embrace about myself, is my authenticity. And it might be too much for some people, and those are not the people that I'm perhaps meant to help.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Not because I think sometimes it might take a while for someone to like raise a little bit closer to your level, and then they're like, okay, now I'm ready to up my game. Yeah.
I would also stay curious. Stay curious is another good one, because instead of judging ourselves, we can just stay in a space of openness and be like, I wonder about that. And also, of course, checking in with your body. How do I feel? What do I need right now? And like really putting your hand on your belly and your stomach, your dantian, and like checking in, like what does my body need versus like what my mind thinks I need, is a totally different experience. So,
well, our body, we have an innate body, a smart body that is kind of like another, it's like, for those who understand the higher self, which is kind of extension of ourself, we have another higher self inside of us that takes care of us, and it just kind of is on autopilot until we talk to it, because it is a little kind of a clunky relationship, and unless you focus on it and develop that relationship. And then when you develop that relationship, then you can go, oh yeah, I can eat more intuitively. I can understand like what's going on with my body, what my body needs. It needs to move, or it needs rest, or I'm not hungry, I'm actually thirsty, or I mean, the list goes on. But we can also heal ourselves by talking to our innate body. I used to get sick all the time. Like I would be home from school 2 weeks. At one time it was 3 months.
wow.
Sick all the time. Okay. Finally, when I was a single mom, I'm like, I don't have time for this. And I didn't get sick from 2008 until 2016, and then not again until 2019. And that was the last time I was sick, because
you claimed it. You claimed your health.
I don't get sick anymore. I never got COVID either. I haven't had the flu. The last time I had the flu was in 2007. So, yeah, I mean, my mother used to have really bad migraines just over and over. She was constantly having to go in her bedroom in the dark. And she was like, that's it. I'm not going to have any more. I'm done. And she never had one again.
Yeah, because we're being conscious creators.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that is really empowering when you start realizing that you can do something about your life and that you can actually make different choices. And
we are so powerful.
We are so powerful.
We're magnificent beings. We don't give ourselves a lot credit. We have to realize that our authentic selves are wonderful.
Yeah, we're not helpless. That's for sure.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not being vain, and it's not being selfish, and it's not being pompous or egotistic. That's what has been to drive us to be less than ourselves. So I'm not talking about being egotistic, because egotistical is like, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than me. I'm better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
Better than I was last year. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to being even better, because I'm going to enjoy myself better. And then I'm going to love myself better. And I'm going to experience and express myself better. But it has nothing to do with anybody else. And when I'm there, then everything else starts to fall into place. Your relationships fall into place. Yeah. Your abundance falls into place. You're more peaceful. You develop a purpose.
Right. Because you're totally in alignment. And you can feel when you're in alignment, and that's like through these modalities that I practice, I feel connected to my source energy, my truth of who I am. And that's where the inspiration and the channeled material comes through, and whether it's movements or galactic language that comes through for me sometimes, in songs, sometimes melodies. I get downloads of melodies that are certain vibrations. Like that's like true self energy. And I think sometimes it's really important to notice like when you're in self energy, so that you can practice being in it more often. Like,
I have a lot of dog songs for my dog.
Oh, I have a lot of cat songs for my cats. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I always tell the cats, like, you're amazing. You're doing amazing at life. You're winning. Like, you're the best cat ever. And then I noticed that I'm giving them all these affirmations. I'm like, I'm going to turn it around. Whatever I'm saying to my cats, I'm going to be like my cat Oliver. I'm going to say those things to myself and see how how it works.
Yes. Yes.
Just like you can program your water, right? Like you can just be like, like say all your positive intentions into your water and drink it, because like, we're so much water anyway. And we, don't realize that we have that modality too. Like we can literally
water molecules listen.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they've proven that scientifically with snowflakes and,
living chi. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 100%. Yes. So, I mean, yeah, there's many, many ways that you can start to step into more of that aligned truth and be more intentional in your life, like creating your life as it were sacred, creating rituals that help support your well-being.
And the thing is when you're starting to do that, think of too, water, you're mostly water.
Right.
Also, everybody that you talk to is mostly water. So when you're not just talking to that person, you're talking to the water in their body. You're talking to their body. And so be careful what you say to someone else. Stop and think before you speak. Is it necessary? Can you let it go? Can you reframe it in a different way? Mm-hmm. Can you think about the person in their shoes and how they're feeling?
Right.
Maybe they're sad or upset about something. So maybe it has nothing to do with you. Maybe it has something to do with them, but they project it onto you. So maybe it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
So you just have to step back. So,
but sometimes people don't have, a lot of the clients that I work with are like, have all sorts of different types of trauma. And sometimes with PTSD and trauma, people don't have like, they're very reactive, and they don't have this space in which to be like, oh, I should say that differently or whatnot. Mm-hmm. And that's where working with the body is really helpful, because sometimes they can't control what their responses are, or what they, what comes out of their mouth or whatever that is. And so I have a lot of compassion and a lot of patience for people that have a hard time slowing down their system.
Yes. And so
And
that could
bringing
be
that
who you're
awareness.
talking to, someone that is having a PTSD reaction or trauma in their past, has nothing to do with you.
Right.
So, stop and see, walk in the other person's moccasins,
Sure. Yeah. Create space so that you can make a kind, compassionate reaction and choice.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, we all deserve that grace.
Yes. Right. Well, Marisa, you are my peep. And I love speaking with people that just love to raise their vibration, and together, we really raise the roof, right? So I really loved having you come on, and we definitely have to get together. We're not that far apart. So,
I know. Yes.
Yes.
Come with your flute.
Yes. We'll have a music jam.
Yes, I'd love that.
But thank you so much. And we'll definitely have to have you back on again for sure.
I appreciate you, Susan. Thank you for what you do and all the positivity that you're bringing to the world. It's impactful, making a difference, which is really important.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me here.
All right. Bye now.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Create Happy Now podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, and if you are watching on YouTube, hit that notification bell. If you have a topic to suggest, please leave a comment below. Catch the Create Happy Now podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Audible, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Listen Notes, and Podchaser. Check out other YouTube videos on the Create Happy Now YouTube channel. And if you want more, check down below for resources, courses, and events, or go to www.createhappynow.com.